both sides of this two-party system are bought and paid for. And what we're doing is we're living in a false left-right paradigm where we're given two false choices to choose between and no other choice. I find it amazing that in a country such as America, where we thrive ourselves on choice, we have a million different choices for food and a million different choices for cable, and we only have two parties to choose from. And both of these parties represent opposite views. I've always found it curious that the typical Republican's very pro-war but very anti-abortion, and then typical Democrat is very anti-abortion and or pro-choice and anti-war. And yet on the outset, it's both of them are have hypocrisy in them. If you believe that we shouldn't be killing innocent people in war, we really shouldn't be killing innocent people as babies, and vice versa. And yet that's how some of the two big issues in the parties are set up. I believe that this two-party system has been tailored to give us the illusion of choice. So when one party goes bad, we get all angry and get all of our muster up and throw them out and bring in the other guys. And yet there's no competition there. I've heard a very good analogy is view the two parties as two crime families. You got the Corleones and the Sopranos on one side. Both of them are out to take as much money as they can and get as much power as they can. And they'll attack each other. You'll have whack a boss and drive-bys and all that other stuff. They'll fight against each other, and some of it's pretty real. But in the end, as long as they control the game, that's fine. But if somebody threatens that game, that's when they'll fight together. Oh, somebody's waking up. Who controls these guys? When I said both sides are bought and paid for, I believe that there's very wealthy people. And there's wealthy people on Wall Street. There's wealthy people in central banks. I believe there's powerful banking interests that want to control the whole thing. I don't necessarily blame them. They're trying to protect their interests, their power. I mean, as a family member, I would want to do the best for my family and protect my family's interests. Well, these are big banking families, and they want to protect their interests. One of the things that they do is, and I think one of the most telling quotes is John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller said, "Competition is a sin." And he's right. I mean, that's one of the original monopoly man. He always bought out the competition. And throughout history, there's always been a power struggle. You either take the payoff or you buy the gun. And when I say both sides are bought and paid for, if you look at like powerful institutions like Goldman Sachs, I always found it weird that at one time they had two presidents of Goldman Sachs. It was John Corzine and Hank Paulson. They were co-chairmen of Goldman Sachs. Well, we know Corzine became the governor of New Jersey and is a very liberal Democrat, and Paulson became the Treasury Secretary. Well, how could you have two guys who have completely opposite views? One's a Democrat, one's a Republican, and yet be at the co-equal position at one of the most powerful banking establishments in the world? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they know the truth. There's no difference between the two of them. Both sides are about advancing power. And it's either advancing banking power, government power, corporate power, but each one of those are against our power. Our power as individuals and our power as citizens. And they know this. At least I think they do. They're either dumb or very mischievous, and I tend to rather go with the mischievous part. Another analogy I can make out for you is sort of like the WWE. Where we're all watch wrestling and they're all fighting against each other, and there's big feuds, and then they'll have smackdowns and call outs and beat each other up. And as blue class entertainers, it's fun to watch that, and you root for one guy and boo the other guy. But you know, at the heart of it is, it's the same storyline that plays out with the Democrat and Republican parties. They'll fight each other, they'll call each other out, they'll have political campaigns, they'll have smackdowns, they'll have debates and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the WWE and Washington politics, they all go out to dinner together and laugh about it. They get a big laugh about it. And their job is to take money from you. Now, it's fine with the WWE. I don't think they're doing anything bad by doing that. But there is an inherent un-American choice when your politicians, or both sides, are bought and paid for by the same corporate interests. You know, they both have different horses in the game. Some have the drug companies on their side, and some have the tobacco companies, and some have Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and local governments and stuff like that to be paid off. But I think it's so important for us to get past this Democrat-Republican party. We had Bush in office, then we had Clinton in office, and we had Bush in office, and now we got Obama in office, and who knows who's going to come after that. But I can guarantee you, nothing has really changed with those 4 presidents now. We're further into debt. We're continuing more war. The government is larger. We've lost more civil liberties. Nobody has turned that course back because there is no choice. Obama ran on this, choice you can believe in. Nothing has changed. The same banking guys are still in control of the Federal Reserve, still in the head of the Treasury Department. We're still at war with Iraq. Hell, we even have the same Secretary of Defense. I mean, if Obama was really about changing, first thing I would have done was thrown Robert Gates out. I mean, he's a former CIA chief. I mean, talk about ingrained in the military-industrial complex. But nothing has changed. And I woke up to this after I campaigned twice for Bush. I was a big Bush supporter. I had the Bush bumper stickers. I put out the signs. And I had grown up my entire life with the Republicans going, less taxes, more freedom, guns, be able to have the Second Amendment. And they had always said, oh, poor us, if we only had the presidency and Congress, we would be able to push through all these changes. Bullshit. When Bush got reelected the second time, first 100 days, we had the Senate, we had the House. What did they do? Nothing. And that's when I started going, wait a minute. For 20 years, I've been brought up on this. We're going to change, we're going to change. Bush turned out to be a bigger spender than even Roosevelt, who I think is a communist. So I woke up basically at a 100-day mark of Bush's second term, which is a 4-year anniversary today. And I hope the Democratic people out there start looking at what Obama's done. One of the most important things you can do is always judge a tree by its fruit. I hate to pull a Bush there, but and I hope over the next couple days you see Obama for what he is. They're a sock puppet. All these presidents, all these politicians, they're sock puppets. They serve a purpose. They're there to fool you. They're there to give you a false choice that you don't have. The policies are not written by the politicians. They're written by these foundations, and these foundations are funded by very powerful interests. And these interests are there to constantly, incrementally advance their cause. And that's why they move so slowly. It doesn't even look like they're moving. But you'll wake up, and you're surrounded in a world that you don't even recognize. A world where your children are heavily in debt, your civil liberties are gone, and that you have really no choice, and that you're becoming poorer and poorer. So I hope enough Republicans have woke up to at least admit that Bush was a complete failure. His scaremongering and his tactics and his legacy that he leaves is an awful one. And I hope that people start waking up to Obama sooner rather than this waiting for a second term, and that we can make a real choice and a real change in 2012. And I tell you what, Ron Paul started something, but the people weren't ready for it yet. And that's one of the main reasons why I do these videos, is to wake people up so that when change really does come and we do have a choice, that people are ready to accept it. But we need to educate ourselves. We need to build that foundation first in order to make real effective political change. And I hope you stay with me and stay with my videos so we can build this thing together. Thank you.